Right, not gonna lie, this 30-second looks pretty crazy. Um, but yeah, let's evaluate kind of where we're at in the day, and then we'll go from there. Talk about some trades during the AM. Talk about my trade that I took, and then yeah, hopefully we get something good for this afternoon. By the way, indicator alerted the 5 minute long there, and that happened in live time, so that was cool. And then I actually was in indices chat, but this is another example of a good 15 second for those of you that, are kind of wondering why I talk about it. But whenever we're getting that like initial reaction to like a unfilled higher time frame gap, in this case it was the daily, that 15 second inverse that we get in reaction to that is usually pretty good. We saw that kind of yesterday with that initial reaction to us taking out all that sell side and hitting the 4 hour low. And then once again, you can see that same exact setup play out here. And that's the earliest IFEG entry you'll get for all the longs that happened today. At 12:03, I called out low of day. And I said I thought this was going to be low of day. And I think longs to fill the void were going to work out nicely. And so far, that's kind of played out. And now what I'm looking for is a retrace maybe to this 5 minute or I don't know, maybe 50% here to take a long from. Right, this 50% level is nice because it lines up pretty nicely with the CE of this 5 minute gap here. So if we were to hit that and get a long, that would be fantastic. Obviously, we're rejecting this 5 minute above here, but I don't necessarily think that means that we're bearish necessarily. The only way that I would flip bearish here is if this 5 minute BPR got inverse to the downside. And then at that point, I would probably expect more sell side because this 5 minute BPR would basically confirm bearish delivery. So kind of the idea for this PM stream. Just going to monitor this gap, this 50% level, and we'll see from there. Maybe we'll get a nice confirmation setup. Is this LRLR being generated for longs or is it too steep? This just isn't very algorithmic. It's not very clean, so I wouldn't really use it. What I'd focus on more so here as a draw on liquidity would be these equal highs here. They're not great, but they're probably like the 6th best draw. I would also focus on this unfilled 15-minute gap above here. This is considered higher time frame unfilled liquidity. And then we'll also get a 4-hour SIBI here. And so once that forms, that'll also be a good draw, right? We'll see that form at 2 o'clock here. So a lot of unfilled gaps above, a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of areas for price to target, right? If we're anticipating price to go from inefficiency to inefficiency, that's kind of what's happening right now. We hit liquidity, and so price now wants to go target the next area in liquidity. And then we hit this inefficiency, we respected it, and now we're targeting the next inefficiency, which is this 5-minute gap. And then once we balance this inefficiency, the next logical place where price would go is the next inefficiency. So probably this 4-hour SIBI once that forms, right? So I actually think PM today is going to be pretty good, but obviously we've kind of taken our major daily target, that data wick. So given that we've already ran that, we might get chopped, but I have hope. I think, we could get a setup today for sure. Did I take the 15-second? So I was actually done for the session, at 11:10. I don't trade between 11:10 to 12:50, and that's kind of a hard rule for me. Obviously, I really liked this reaction. I really like this trade. I think it's A+ subjectively. But for me, I've just been burned too many times trying to trade between 11:10 to 12:50, and that's just one of my rules, and I have to respect it. So obviously, I'm not going to take that trade, and I was actually on my phone during lunch, not at my setup, so I couldn't have taken it even if I wanted to. But yeah, this is what a good A+ 15-second setup looks like. That initial reaction to higher time frame liquidity being swept. So now we have this 30-second here potentially. We hit the internal high, so technically it's invalid, right? This is our intermediate term high, internal high here, because we have a lower high, higher high, lower high. And so now that we've hit that and we hit the BPR above that, this wouldn't be a valid entry. So yeah, just nothing to say there. But yeah, let me answer some of these questions. A question regarding the trade you took in the AM. Wouldn't shorting inside a big BISI be low probability? Not when we're not getting any bullish reactions and the lower time frame delivery is bearish, and we can pair that lower time frame delivery with a good draw on liquidity like a data wick, right? The best draw on liquidity in the chart, right? The only time I ever short or long and lower probability can like setups is when we either have really good equal highs or lows or a data wick, right? So that's that one scenario is that data wick, and so that's why I'm shorting there, right? Talked about that many times during PM. You know, I'll long in premium if we have a good draw on liquidity like that. I'll short in discount if we have a good draw on liquidity like that. I'll short against the higher time frame bullish gap if we have a draw on liquidity like that. Especially since technically, you know, of course, we don't know for certain that higher time frame delivery is bearish until we inverse this 4 hour right at 10 o'clock. But we can see the reaction we're getting to the daily SIBI here. And does this look like a bullish reaction to you or a bearish one? So when you see price accelerating past 50% after it's been tapped, you know, in a time where you wouldn't expect price to reverse, then you're pretty much golden up until the macro. And so that's why I entered that short there, is because if we're going to reverse here after the 50% tap, we're going to see price either, you know, come up here, run into the inefficiency, maybe pull back a little, and then continue to V-shape up, ultimately inversing these 30 seconds here. Or we might see a manipulation leg here, soup the low, and then see price move up. We're never going to see price come back down, violate 50%, close below the low, start putting in bearish PD arrays, respect those bearish PD arrays, and then continue to go down, right? So that's why when I see price start to close below this, start to violate 50%, and then start to put in bearish PD arrays, I'm going short there, because there's no reason for price to do that if we're bullish, right? So that's kind of the idea behind the short. That was actually the short setup I took. Dodgy asked me when I joined stage at around 9:50 if I'd taken anything yet, and that's kind of when I shared, you know, the contracts I was in, you know, what strike I was at, and yeah, if you joined me with those when I said I was taking them and when I got out, you made like at least 100% there, so that was pretty good. You thought it was a break-even trade? No, it wasn't. I got really lucky because we got this nice death candle here at 9:56. It was really close, but nah, I was still good. I guess I got a good fill or whatever. But yeah, options is weird, right? Because my original entry was at 577, but when we came back up here because time had passed, we were getting really close to my original entry, even though we were still 20 points below it. So, oh, it was the chase entry? Yeah, I mean, this 1 minute short, obviously it's invalid, but when you see price death candle through obvious 1 minute for value gaps like that, you can anticipate all this LRLRs to be ran. Somebody asked me, you know, if the LRLR above we had today was a good draw, and I don't really love it. This is a good example of like stack to lows, LRLR, that kind of thing, right? Because once we death candle past this bullish for value gap here, there's not really any roadblocks in the way in taking out this low. So that's why this is actually a good chase play. When you see price death candle there, right? There's no roadblocks. We should just run the low. So kind of that idea. Also, if you got in on this dump, if you knew that there were data lows, you definitely should have held there all the way to that. So like this is a good opportunity to have a runner. Obviously that's hindsight, but yeah, like I said, you know, data lows are data highs are the strongest draws on liquidity in the market, and they have the highest hit rate I've ever seen. Like I said, if I was somebody starting over with this model and I just wanted the most easy basic setups ever, I would just wait for data lows and highs to form and target those. But yeah, that was kind of the idea. When you say inefficiency to inefficiency, is it like liquidity to FVG or FVG to FVG? Inefficiencies are just unbalanced for value gaps or VIs or that kind of thing. And then liquidity is just like the lows and highs, right? So liquidity to liquidity, inefficiency to inefficiency, right? You can go liquidity to inefficiency too, and that's kind of the same idea. But usually that doesn't happen because when I say liquidity, I mean like that sell side level or that buy side level. Usually when we run sell side, that's where we get our smart money reversals. So that's why I wouldn't say like liquidity to inefficiency, because normally we won't see that same liquidity reswept. So 30-minute has rejected. All right, good to know. Good to know. We didn't close above there. Overall, I'm going to be watching that 5 still, but yeah. Not going to lie, I got FOMO today, especially after the dump, and the FU short ended up losing 300. That's okay. Just recognize that, you were emotional at that time, and hopefully after you took that loss, you got off the charts and realized that you were being emotional and you didn't revenge trade or anything like that. Which IFEG? I'm not sure what you're referencing, Trade Boy. I'm not sure if you can answer this, but if we paid for the new indicator, will we have access to it tomorrow before market open? I'm not sure, JPav. I think this is like the first release that Doge's ever done for an indicator, so expect or maybe be a little bit lenient if there's technical errors or whatever. But 2 Degrees is a very professional dude. He's been making indicators forever, so I would expect things to go smoothly with him at the helm. It looks like we're rejecting the 15-minute BPR. I don't know. We'll see. Has anyone ever gotten a compliance? Yeah, people got compliance emails all the time, Ken, where they had to like record a video. Pretty crazy. But yeah, Apex is definitely on one lately. It's a chase entry that someone lost. Oh, yeah, okay. This one he said he lost money, but I thought this one was a break-even. Yeah, this was a break-even trade. That was a break-even because you just enter here, go break-even at the low. So yeah, that was a break-even trade. How do you get out of the mindset of trading mechanically and taking those setups that are invalid? I would just keep watching the chart and make sure that you're trading with the bias. I mean, usually the mechanical setups that look really good that fail are because they're against the bias. So just continue to trade with the bias, continue to trade with the trend. Can you add a PayPal option payment on WAP sometimes? It's the only way I don't pay additional tax like VAT. Yeah, I'll see what I can do, Adrian. As long as it's like not like a crazy fee, I think I can do that. If they offer it. I think all I've ever seen them offer is like this or like one other thing, but I don't remember what it was. Just got here. Are you looking into taking anything? Yeah, long out of this 5-minute gap here. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. So maybe this 30-second here isn't horrible. Right, we still have 50% below, so if this fails, that's why. It's just because we haven't came back for that 50% level. I'm hoping price just respects the gap here. We come down to that for maybe one more manipulation leg, and then during the macro, we get the long. That could be nice. And then, once we get the long, maybe we'll see price hit that 4-hour SIBI that we're about to form. And then that can be like, a potential take profit or, whatever. Okay, so we get the 30-second inverse there. Really, really strong momentum. I think this is good. If this play loses, obviously it's just because we have 50% below. What's the risk on this? 15 points-ish. So, yeah, really, really good. Obviously break even at the high here. We're coming off that 5-minute. This is my condition. Obviously not married to 50% here, considering we're still bullish. So hopefully this is a good trade. All right, there's the break even. Let's figure out first scales and all that. Based off this momentum, we might be going for higher for that first scale than 1 to 1. Maybe we even go all the way to the equal highs if we just blast past these ones. Or maybe we just get break even. And I got break even. All right, well, break even trade there. That's annoying. Hopefully we don't just retrace to this 30-second and just pump up. That would suck. But good break even there. Maybe, you know, the better break even here is this high inside the fair value gap because there's not really any roadblock here that should stop us. But obviously with 50% below, that's kind of why I went to break even early there, is because I don't know if price is going to come down and tag that. So if we get like a bearish reaction to this high and we inverse this 30-second, that would obviously probably indicate that we're going to go for that. So where was the data lows / highs today? Yeah, it was at the 415 candle from yesterday's NVIDIA news release, right? So here's the data wick. This is when NVIDIA announced their earnings. It was at 420. And then that was where we targeted today. And you can see price hit that pretty cleanly and came back up. And now we're just looking for the bullish reaction here towards this 4-hour SIBI once it forms and the unfilled 15-minute up here. It's probably the draw right now is that unfilled higher time frame liquidity. Took that short today, but I accidentally traded on my practice / demo accounts and my eval. No, Tambi. Would you have taken that 5-minute, the 5-minute long? Obviously, since it wasn't during the kill zone, no. But if it was, yeah, I would have. I probably would have taken that 15-second. You streaming AM tomorrow since Dodgy's not going to be streaming here? No, I will be actually doing a one-on-one tomorrow with somebody. So, nah, he'll be. You guys just got to join that Discord and watch it from there. Will I be streaming PM tomorrow? I don't think so. Yeah, you too, Harry. Whenever you say LRLR, is that just a trend line build up for low resistance liquidity run? Yes, correct, Sheets. I didn't take this morning short or that 5-minute long. Really profitable? Okay. Any reason why? Were you like busy or did you just not like it? You're a donut? Oh. Well, yeah, that probably doesn't help. You don't want to be a donut. I bet you'd be pretty difficult to trade if you were a donut. But yeah, it looks like break even saving us here. So obviously this play would have stopped out. So that's why we go to break even there at the high. But that's fine by me. Hey, at least we got a trade today. How many trades have we gotten this week? I mean, obviously, you know, we're looking for winners here, but have we gotten 3 this week? 1, 2. I only see 2 in the trade recaps, but how many like entries have we taken? I feel like that's another one there. Can you tell your drawn liquidity for today? Sorry, I was on it. Yeah, I just went over it again right now, but just this 4-hour unfilled gap. Once that forms in about 15 minutes, that'll be my draw, and then after that we'll see. So this high here, right, is what I'm targeting. 533.25. Saw the new indicator is $45 a month. Do you think there will be a one-time purchase option? I have no idea, so. The only thing I'm involved with as far as the indicator goes is just the beta testing portion of it. I know nothing about the financial side of it or really anything else behind the scenes. I'm just here to basically point out flaws that the indicator has. So I was doing that a little bit today because I wasn't streaming AM, so I was looking at that. I was paying attention to the indicator, and it did alert a couple nice trades. I think it alerted this one here, this long, and then obviously the 5-minute long there it alerted. And then I don't think it caught a short, but I don't really remember, to be honest. Yeah, Harry, it caught this 5-minute long. Let me, you can see there, obviously it's still, the 5 minutes still playing out, right? So any setup we get out of this 5-minute gap will just be a confirmation setup based off this, but obviously it was a break-even trade because price came up, tapped into this 5-minute, and then came back down, but yeah, it alerted that. So yeah, we'll see. Paying attention to SMTs here also. You mentioned that A plus setup, but since it's against bias, yeah. So I said this was mechanically A plus, obviously against bias, so I just wouldn't have taken it. I was actually still in a short position there, so yeah. Actually, no, I wasn't. I sold my short here, so I lied. I sold it at like 10, 11. I was not in a short position there, but yeah, I was short bias there. Did anybody see me call out the options short play, either when I joined stage or just talking about it in the chat today? And did any of you guys like tail me on that? I'm really kind of hot with these options plays right now. I'm not gonna lie. That one pushed me over my goal, so I turned $200 into 5K, so that was pretty cool. I'm gonna try and see if I can keep going with it, but not today. Just over the last couple of weeks, Wesley. I should stream for AM tomorrow. I think Dodgy is, but yeah, this last trade today, it was what 2,300, and then the profit on it was 25 plus, what was it, 1650, I think. So that's 41 minus 23. That's 1,800. So $1,800 options trade today. So there's 50%. Here is where we might be able to see that 30-second gap. Yeah. Yep. I full ported it today. Well, no, actually I didn't full port it. I used like half. I had like it was like a $3,300 balance or something like that, and I used like 23, so a little bit more than half. Obviously, my intention wasn't to risk the full amount. I was probably only going to risk like $500, but nah, Wesley, I like not risking my own capital. I mean, it's fun every now and again, right? Like, but like once this account kind of gets up there, like, I don't want to be risking like 3K on an options trade, right? Like, I'd rather put that money into prop firms and just trade that. 5-minute inverse with momentum during macro. Would you think a short would be justified to hit equilibrium for daily FEG? If we inverse the 5-minute down, we're probably cooked, because I don't think I'm going to be shorting after sell side's been swept here until we like inverse probably this hourly. Then I'll be looking for this low to be hit. But I just would not anticipate shorts today with the 4-hour SIBI above. That feels like a pretty good draw on liquidity. And actually, I shouldn't even say the 1 hour here. I should say the 4 hour. As long as this 4 hour BISI's holding, I'm going to be probably bullish. I just don't think it's smart to retarget a protected low here when we still haven't swept out buy side. I mean, sure, we took out this 5-minute high, but if you look at any other time frame, it's not really that significant. And so I feel like in order for us to have said that this low is no longer protected, we should hit like at least this high first, right? This is kind of an obvious swing. But we'll see. Anything's possible here. Would you say futures is safer than options without using prop firms? It's about the same, I think. Options is inherently more difficult because you have to factor in time. But as far as risk goes, it's about the same as long as you have stop losses or whatever. So yeah, like this 1 minute up wouldn't be horrible. I wish we had a better break even here, but it's fine. If we get the long, we'd be in the macro. We have, good stacked liquidity up above here coming out of 50% and the 5 minutes. So I mean, this is good. Would break even be the equal highs? I mean, technically the break even here is this high here, but that's kind of far, right? Like, I'm pretty sure this is like 2R to this high. 1.6, so 30 points away. So you might want to try and find something a little closer than that. But there's not really anything good on the 30-second or 15-second here. So this is kind of like one of those scenarios where it's kind of up to you as far as where you want to go break even. Maybe I'll just go break even at 1R here. Maybe this high. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully we get a good candle here, have some good momentum, and just get the inverse. That'd be nice. Obviously, that's not my target. My intended target is way higher up. Probably, like I said, that 4 hours, so for 125 points. Risk there, I don't know. Let's see. So no 1 minute inverse there. It looks like you can risk about 4 micros on this trade and get away with it. So that's probably what I'll do. 30-second gap for break even. And that's if you're risking 150. If you're risking 200, obviously you can probably risk like 5 or 6, depending on the fill you get. So do you like the 30-second or 1 minute better? I like the 1 minute, I think. Yeah, they close at about the same point, so I'd use the singular obvious gap here instead of the multiple gaps. Do you need to get the account to 157,500 with 20%? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha, Harry. Let's see. We're going to get the 1 minute here. By the way, this is like obviously an A+ subjective trade. I'm going to take it. It's good. Obviously, if the momentum kind of dies, you know, we'll reevaluate. But if we got the close in like the next candle, that would be still fine. Trying to pass a set of evals. How much would you risk on this? Fresh evals? It depends. It depends on your financial situation, honestly. If you're somebody that can like kind of burn through a lot of evals and be okay with it, then you can obviously risk more. But if you're somebody that's, you know, just trying to pass in one try, you know, maybe risk only like 200 here if it's a 50K or 250. So that'd be like 6 micros or something. Isn't that the sell side of the curve? No. Nah, because this would be under the assumption that this is going to become the market maker model, and I don't think it makes sense for this to become a market maker model. So no. Plus, the sell side of the curve, does the sell side of the curve normally look like this, Fahrenheit? Like this choppy PA, or like what does normally the sell side of the curve look like? To me, the sell side of the curve is more like that elevator down, kind of like this, right? This is what you'd expect to see out of the sell side of the curve. So because it's not really, you know, pulling us down here with a lot of momentum. Oh, for sure, yeah, with the no liquidity. Well, for me, this is kind of our liquidity sweep here. This is this low here. So if this is our liquidity sweep, this turns into our manipulation leg, and then this is where maybe we start to distribute. I don't run the stream, LOL. I don't know, though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this momentum here is kind of dying, so that kind of degrades the setup from A+ to maybe A. Maybe A-. Probably A still. By the way, Fahrenheit, I saw your message. We'll talk. Trying to pass a set of evos, how much would you risk on... Oh, yeah, I already answered that. How many accounts you blow before you got profitable? I don't know, probably 20, 30. Also have 6,000 max drawdown, and I got to deal with no daily loss. So it's decent rules, but they changed rules again, so probably won't get another account with them. We'll just keep using this one. Sounds good, Harry. How are we doing today? I'm doing good, Seb. How are you? How many people are named Sebastian in here? Do we have like 3? You know, I haven't really met anyone in real life whose name is Sebastian outside of me. So the fact that there's so many of you guys in here is pretty crazy. What about the 15 minute to the downside? I'm looking at the 5 here, Ed. Yeah, as long as the 5 holds, we should be bullish. So yeah, there's 1, 2, and then isn't Seba Sanchez, I think his name is? Isn't he another Sebastian? So that's like, I know the mentorship has one. So that's like at least 3. You gotta get out reliable. What do you mean, Juicy? Oh, like meet more people? Haha, gotcha. Pretty common name in Europe, especially France and Germany. Yeah, I figured, right? Because, you know, Johann Sebastian Bach or whatever. Oh, yeah, Shmeevy? Okay, okay. Just bought your Mentorship live in the UK and work 9 to 5, so currently unable to trade AM session. Hoping this improves my trading. Whale, I saw you comment about that this morning. Sounds good, man. We'll see what we can do. Why is like San Sebastian? I think is for Spain, right? That Saint Sebastian or whatever. Why is it generating liquidity like this? I don't know. Because we hit our daily target, and so price action is just kind of doing whatever right now. I wouldn't anticipate the draw on liquidity to be sell side right now, but if delivery flips, then I guess we'll look for this low to be targeted. We'll get that flip at 2 o'clock here, so we'll see. If we don't hold this, which based on how we violated CE of the gap, it doesn't really look like we're going to. We might see price hit low of day again. That would be really surprising. Do I just trade PM? No, I trade AM and PM. Works 60% of the time, all the time. Hell yeah. Oh, I don't know, Shmeevi. Do we have news after hours today? Like, do we have earnings? I know we have news tomorrow at 8:30, I think, right? We have PCE, so we could be just generating liquidity for PCE, but I don't know. We'll see. The 5-minute inverse is downside. Will you take it? No, I wouldn't take it because this is like shorting off the buy side of the curve. But I will maybe look for a confirmation setup, or I just probably won't take anything today because I don't really believe we're going to hit this low because it should be a protected low, I think. I mean, unless we're saying that because we swept this 5-minute high here, it's no longer protected, but this 5-minute high is kind of insignificant. So that's why I think it's technically a protected low here because it's a low that took out another low inside of a value gap, and then we closed above. So, I mean, it's textbook definition of a protected low. So, bullish or nothing. Yeah, basically sniper, yep. Do you have a good calendar for earnings reports? Isn't there something in TV for it? I think so. If I didn't, not Financial Juice, Shmeevi, but Financial Juice is just what I use to keep track of things. But yeah, I think I remember hearing about something like that. I think it's an indicator. I just forget what it's called. So yeah, obviously for this 1 minute long here, we didn't get the setup. So I guess if we were to respect this 5-minute here and get like a bullish, I guess, birth candle, inversing the gap there, that could be good. We just need to see good momentum. And then I would expect, these highs to get hit. But so far, just not really any good momentum in the macro. Making lower lows here, so. We got 5 seconds here. Let's see if that 5-minute inverses. And looks like price did not inverse the 5 minutes. So we're still valid for longs here. We put in that 4-hour SIBI. So that's my target. Hopefully we see that get drawn to today. Is that a 5-minute bearish order block? Technically, but I think it'll probably just get turned into a breaker. Okay, so there's some good momentum. I'll get rid of the 5-minute here since we kind of know what happened with that. We have this 1 minute. I think this 1 minute's the gap that's holding down price. This is not a singular gap here, so I wouldn't really use it as an inverse. I don't think it's that significant, but if we inverse that 1 minute, that would be good. Would be a CISD as well, true. Yep. So, yeah, I'm thinking that it'll just get turned into a breaker. Maybe we get a unicorn set up here. Two-minute don't look too bad, right? Gap is kind of small, not that obvious, so I'd still wait for that 1 minute. We still go 4 micros or risk down. Depending on if we get an inception gap, I might risk down Marcus, but if there's no inception gap, yeah, 4 micros. Would you take a trade off of the original 1 minute? Yeah, like I just said, yeah, if we get a good momentum candle through it, maybe. For sure, Seb. Okay, maybe just risk what you made today then, so you don't put yourself red if this trade doesn't go your way. How much do you risk? On my Apexes, $150. On my MFFUs, $200. So 25K and 50K respectively. Is that legitimate LRLR above? Not really. It's not that obvious. It's okay, but no, I wouldn't use it as a draw. What I'd be focusing more on here is the unfilled higher time frame gap. Sounds good, Seb. Yeah, don't force a trade here. Like if you know, there isn't one there, but if we get a trade for sure. Yeah. Like 125 is still fine. I mean, it's not ideal, right? You know, it's probably like 0.6 R, 0.5 R or whatever, but you know, we're going for 10 R a month, so you know, you're on pace with 0.5 R a day if you think about it. All right, so when we continue to respect and deliver out of bearish for value gaps on the lower time frame here and disrespect bullish ones, that's not really a good sign for longs. I really want to see price start to violate these bearish gaps. So we're still in the macro time for another 5.5 minutes here. So hopefully we get the inverse before then, so we can still take advantage of that, you know, displacement. But right now, macro's giving us nothing. So NQ took the low at 12.13 and ES didn't. Okay, good to know. Bullish SMT then. What about lunch lows? Where are lunch lows at? Oh, they're all the way down there. Okay, so they're probably not in the picture. It's literally the low a day. So yeah, those are out of the picture. That's fine. What time is lunch? 12 to 1. Can't hear. All right, let me restart real quick. Hello? Hello, hello? So we're seeing pretty good move here. Hopefully we just continue this move and maybe we inverse the gap on this next candle. And then in 3 more minutes, hopefully we'll see a breaker get put in with a fair value gap, and then that will be our unicorn model, which definitely will start to feel like a smart money reversal. Would you think it's unfunded if we get momentum? Yeah, of course. Been talking about it this whole time, so. Yep. Hopefully there's no inception gap. We might get a 2 minute, so I'd have to include that in the stop. So now I'd be working with maybe 3 micros here. Yeah, 3 micros. Would your stop be like how it is now? No, I mean, if we form this 2 minute inception gap, it would change, but if we don't get the inception gap, like price comes back and then we go up, then yeah, I would readjust back to the gap itself and not the inception gap. Do you full port evals? For like the eval passing strat, yes, but for anything else, no. When you get a chance, please explain unicorn model and inception gap. Yeah, so the inception gap is the fair value gap that forms on the swing that inverses the IFEG. So in this case here, we have this 2-minute gap that's forming on the swing that's inversing this 1-minute gap. So this gap here you have to include in your stop loss because there's a scenario here where price causes the 1-minute IFEG to fail, but then we end up respecting the inception gap. Do you see how this starts below the IFEG here? Right, it's about, well, I guess if you include this tiny gap here, it's about 3 points below, but just off that first one there, it's about 6 points below. So you'd have to include those extra 3 points. So we get this inverse here in about, I don't know, maybe another minute. Obviously, you know, I want to see good momentum through the high here. I don't want to see price kind of stall. So hopefully we get like a close on this candle here and just maybe close up there or whatever. We got that inception gap now, so we got to include that in the stop loss. Just like the 3-minute yesterday, or yeah, whatever gap it was, yeah. And then a unicorn model is just when we get a 2022 model that overlaps a breaker. So in this case here, if we got like a 5-minute fair value gap here, overlapping this bullish breaker, that's the unicorn. That's the unicorn model. All it is you're basically taking the 2022 setup that forms there, and you're just longing, right? It's a different model. It's not my model. I haven't back tested it, but a lot of other people use it outside of this Discord. So I keep track of them. But yeah, how do you determine stop loss? Just a close below the inception gap. Same thing as the IFG. So no close over there. Pretty bad reaction to the high there inside the gap. Bad momentum now. So this is probably going to go back to being an A setup in my mind. If we'd gotten the good momentum there over the high, would have probably been A+, but yeah, that's not a good reaction. So now that we're going to form a new internal low here, because an internal low is a higher low, lower low, higher low, this is now the new swing, so this inception gap doesn't matter. So now you just base it off that. Sometimes it'll matter, but like most of the time it won't. So we'll just have to see that reaction. We'll have time, ideally, you know, based on the close. I guess if we just came back up here, it would still be an inception gap, you know, like literally on this candle. But if not, then probably not. You taking this 1 minute? Yeah, that's the idea. Hopefully we tap inception and fast inverse up. Yeah, that'd be nice. Bottom right corner in TV calendars can filter to earnings. Oh, cool. Very cool. I'm guessing, which one is it? Notifications. Is this 1 minute A? Yeah, I'd probably give it A or maybe even A- now because we're really starting to stall here. The momentum's kind of bad. It would have been A+ on that first V-shape back up sniper, but now it's kind of degraded. Second from top on the right. Alerts. Okay, so let me explain something to you guys. I'm gonna let you in on a little Furu marketing secret here, okay? Anytime you're seeing your favorite Furu on Twitter beefing with another Furu, it's to drum up like interactions and like publicity. Whether the hate is genuine or not, that's always either the side effect or the main intention. So when you see Ryan and Rips beefing on Twitter, it's so that people from in the trading community take interest in the beef, and then that gets more eyes on obviously the Discord, which is obviously better for business. So don't really pay too much mind to the drama. It's not really a big deal. I feel like it's mostly for marketing, even if like what Rips is saying is like his true beliefs and he really does hate Dodgy. At the end of the day, the side effect of it is always going to be for it's good marketing. So he's a Furu, Dodgy's a Furu. Seeing those two communities clash is going to always bring attention. I feel like I've seen Dodgy beef with like multiple other creators on the timeline too. This isn't the first time I've seen Dodgy go head to head with somebody. Bottom right, second from top. Oh, here we go. Calendars. Gotcha sheets. Or maybe appreciate it. Imagine being a grown man worried about what other grown men are doing all the time. I don't know, sheets. All I hear is you guys are putting a lot of thought into other grown men. The unfilled higher time frame FEGs at 50% of the range. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Kinda. Just about. Probably that 15 minute. Right. So yeah, because we're still rejecting that 1 minute, do you guys now see why I said like us inversing this gap wouldn't be that important? But obviously the gap that's holding us down would be. This is that textbook example of like watching price and seeing like which gaps are important versus which ones aren't, right? All publicity is good publicity, Marlon, right? Is that the draw on liquidity? Yeah, I would say that unfilled 4 hours right now. In the trading community, I feel like there's literally nothing that a Furu could say that would like turn people against them. Like I feel like I've seen TJR say the N word on the timeline more times than I can count. Like I don't know. Didn't that one dude literally like get arrested for like being a drug dealer or something? And like he still has a platform. Like like literally there's nothing that any Furu could do to like deplatform themselves. So anytime you see bad publicity or you think there's bad publicity, it's not. Eyes are eyes. Not saying I would ever do that, but just so you guys, you know, have a little bit more transparency about what's going on in the trading community. The trendline guy, I guess. All right, so good momentum there. We're outside of the macro now. I'd probably give this an A- setup, given the momentum and time component, but obviously this goes along with the bias and it is the model. So kind of up to you if you want to take this on a funded at this point. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm going to alert this. So I'm not going to say whether or not I'm taking it, but you know, it's definitely a really, really good eval play. Like really, really good eval play. I just don't know if this is a good funded play. Maybe half size. You know, I don't know. I don't feel confident in this play enough to alert it because we're outside of that macro time now, and it's just really starting to get choppy here. Right, so we may just like be started like accumulating here now. I mean, TGR is just good marketing. Exactly, right? You know, half the battle is marketing, right? It's getting eyes. So I feel like we would enter it and we would chop inside of it until macro. Yeah, right? Like we could literally enter this trade and we could see it like chop sideways for like 30 minutes and then finally it works out at 250 or whatever. It's a 2-minute unicorn retrace to the FEG. Well, do we have a breaker on the 2-minute here or no? Is it just on the 5-minute? So technically, I don't think it's a unicorn yet. Yeah, because there's no unicorn set up on the 2-minute yet. Right, we didn't close over this. Oh, we did here, but that was after we retraced here. So yeah, this isn't really a clean, like good unicorn setup, right? There's still that breaker that's intact on the 3-minute there too. So yeah, I wouldn't call that a good unicorn setup. What's your opinion on TGR and the strategy? I have no idea how he trades, honestly. I've just seen the crazy stuff that he posts, and I saw that he made like $1 million gambling one time, and that's about it. What's a unicorn setup? It's like a 2022 model that overlaps a breaker. If you know what the 2022 is. If you don't, go watch the 2022 mentorship. Yeah, for sure, Seb. Yeah, that's probably smart. By the way, I'm probably not saying anything about the overall trading community that you guys don't already know. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I just kind of ignore the noise. That's kind of why I'm not really that active on social media because I feel like the social media stuff is just noise. When it's grinding like this, do you normally then wait for a retrace of this 1 minute? When do you normally wait for a retrace? Um, I normally wait for a retrace when there's obvious, like an obvious unfilled inefficiency. That it would make sense to see tap, but like here, like I don't necessarily think we need to see a retrace because there's no imbalance, right? We've kind of balanced everything, and the only reason why we would retrace here is if we were bearish, right? Because we'd be rejecting and respecting lower time frame bearish PD arrays, which in my mind is telling us that the delivery is bearish, and so therefore bias is just not bullish. And if bias isn't bullish, I can't do anything because I'm not going to short here because I just hate the draw on liquidity, and bias equals draw on liquidity plus delivery. So if the delivery is bearish and there's no draw on liquidity, then there's no bias. If the bias is bullish, then the draw on liquidity is obviously buy side up there somewhere, the unfilled 4 hour, and then the delivery then has to be bullish, but we just haven't confirmed that bullish delivery because we haven't inversed that 1 minute gap. So the fact that we're coming down here now, we got 2 more minutes. Looks like this 5 minutes definitely going to inverse here, just based off this momentum down. So, I mean, based off that, I would assume that price is going to go for this low, but to me that doesn't really just make any sense. And then another piece of the reason why I wouldn't take this short is let's evaluate risk to reward here. So it's actually technically so far, depending on where we close, negative risk to reward. If we get a good close, obviously it'll be like closer to 1 to 1. But yeah, if we like close down here, it'll be negative risk to reward. And so you're going to be putting on 50 something points of risk, maybe 60 points of risk into a negative risk to reward trade. Because if I was taking the short, I wouldn't expect anything lower than low of day here. Right. I will say though, if we sweep out this low, I mean that would be another good opportunity for a long setup for sure. Is this PA because of the big moves? Yeah, exactly. And overnight, right? We got big moves overnight. So whenever we run that daily target and we get big moves during AM, what do we expect for the rest of the day, right? Probably just accumulation. So it's kind of what we're seeing here, right? If you just think about accumulation, you're on a bigger scale. You know, this whole range that we've been in from 520 to 300 is kind of us accumulating, and then, you know, eventually we'll probably manipulate down here and then distribute back up and target, you know, all-time highs or whatever. And obviously that idea would change if the 4 hour got inverse to the downside. So we got 15 more seconds till this 5 minute closes. Depending on the close here, it's going to be really negative risk reward. All right, so there's the close. Risk reward on this play is 0.8. Like the momentum. Not during the macro time. Shorting off the buy side of the curve, so it's not really my model that I like to take. And then, yeah, obviously it goes along with the bias. So good bias, good momentum. Not my model, not time. So maybe it's an eval play. Maybe it's nothing. Kind of up to you. Do you always use the drawn liquidity that you pin to find your bias? Yeah, one of those 7. Yeah, TV. I mean, unless you can name another drawn liquidity, I think that's about all of them. For sure, Fahrenheit. Setup is invalid. No, setup isn't invalid because the fair value gap's been tapped into a lot. It only goes invalid if we hit the internal high. Sometimes actually when we get a lot of touches and price respects it a lot, when we do eventually inverse that gap, that's when we really start to move. So not necessarily meaning that, you know, it's invalid. But yeah, so far 5 minute looking pretty decent here. I would go break even if I was in this, I guess now, because we hit that gap to the left there, but there's not really a good break-even point here, so it's kind of up to you. I mean, this is up 15 points, so I feel like it shouldn't come back before running that low with this much momentum, but we definitely could because we're creating inefficiencies behind. So, is anybody in this short right now? Two. Okay. So you guys are all kind of on the same page as me then, right? Like, this looks fine, but it's obviously really big stop loss, negative risk to reward, and targeting a low that just doesn't make sense to see hit. I will say, though, once we do hit this low on NQ, we will have a massive SMT with ES. So hopefully that SMT gives us like a nice soup reaction, and then, you know, we just see longs work out for the rest of the day. But yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy to see like, 0 day till expiry call options just like print for like 1,000% here and we run to that unfilled 4 hour from this low? That'd be cool. I'd be looking at like, I don't know, probably 519s here, maybe 518s. I don't know. The premiums on these contracts there are pretty high because we've been moving a lot. So 40% IV. Normally I don't like to take stuff that's like more than 35, but on a day like today, if we get a good enough long setup, I don't see why not. So if I was in this 5 minute, I would probably get break even. So I guess that's another reason why I'm not in this. Maybe if we get a confirmation setup, that's probably going to be better, but I don't know. I said that I would go break even, down here. This play was up about 25 points, so I think that's a logical place to go break even at. Obviously, there's no real like ITLs or ITHs here for us to target. Maybe, this 30-second one here, we left a relative equal low. Maybe that's where you go break even, but still, like, I wouldn't really want to mess with it. I'm also still of the mindset that, there's a chance here that this low doesn't even hit because it's protected. So if we just come back up here, that makes sense. It sucks because the delivery is bad now because we've inversed that 5 minutes to the downside. So longs here are just like questionable. But I mean, if this short doesn't work, it makes sense as to why. Bounce from 0.786 fib. All right. We got a 30-second short here forming. It's definitely an FU short. Really deep in discount, no liquidity sweep, so it doesn't meet the model. Bias, it goes along with. Momentum, pretty decent. I mean, if we get the singular candle inverse there, like just like that, that's fine. Time doesn't align with time, so this is probably like an A minus B plus setup. If you factor in the fact that we're just super low on the day, maybe it's just B plus. Yeah, I'd say it's B plus. I mean, you could try it on an eval, see if we get the break even, but yeah, it's just a B plus trade. Wouldn't ever take this unfunded. Stop is 9 points, so risk reward here is actually pretty decent. But I don't think this is high probability. So even though the risk reward is good, the probability is low. So it's just going to be a trade that loses an awful lot. But because of the risk reward, you make up for it when this trade actually does end up hitting. And I don't think I would scale anything in this trade. I would just hold for that low. So we'll see. But like if this setup wins like 30% of the time, it's technically profitable because it's a 4-hour trade. So you can win this trade 3 times or lose this trade 3 times before getting your win and still be profitable. Think ES holding us up? Yeah, I think so too. If we take this low, we might get an SMT there. But yeah, like this play loses an awful lot. How? Was it like super hot in your room? Yeah, Florida heat. Yeah, the glue probably melted. Or whatever, if you're using command strips or whatever, those probably fell off or whatever. That's so funny. Dude, I gotta open my door. It's like, I'm melting in here. My computer just gets way too hot and I have to have it running all the time. It's honestly not even that warm out. It's just, like I said, my computer. So 30-second just failed there. Like I said, would probably happen. Bearish SMT at that high. All right. So it looks like we just needed to wait for that bearish SMT, and then the short finally works. Did I take that? No, Brandon, I didn't. I said that this play like loses a lot, and I rated it a B plus setup. Do I take B plus setups? You would get in an options play solely off of bullish SMT at that low? Nah, Sohan. I don't think I would get in an options play because the premiums on the contracts are too high, and because we've already swept out our daily target, I don't know if that 4-hour unfilled gap is going to get hit. Right, it's pretty far away, so I kind of have to be realistic. And so I don't know if options plays are the smartest today, but like if we see a really good V-shaped setup and we start to get good momentum here, then yeah, you know, maybe you take that V-shape on options or whatever. What's the lowest taken? Do you think we'll go long? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I would imagine yes, because we'll get a nice SMT there, but I don't know. We've just been continuing to respect bearish lower time frame gaps. So as long as our delivery's still bearish, we'll probably keep seeing lower prices. I think right now this 5 minute is going to be our tell. If we inverse that, you know, we'll probably be bullish. If not, then we'll probably see more lower prices. Have you missed any good setups? Been out during the Yavel since AM was good, but I have some evals to full port. No, we haven't gotten anything yet. Yeah, we're just uncorrelated here, guys. We'll probably get bullish SMTs both ways here, but these SMTs that occur in the interior of the range don't really matter. The ones that really do matter are the ones at the extremities, so that's the one I'll pay attention to. Do you normally end PM stream at 4? Yeah, I try to get as close as I can to 4. Ended early yesterday, obviously, because we'd gotten our play and we had NVIDIA earnings after the bell, and so any move that we would have gotten before then probably wasn't going to be the real thing, and most people can't trade accounts after 4:10 anyway, so it's figured it would be best to end there. But yeah, most of the time I'll trade till 4, especially if, you know, we're not really getting a setup before then. I found anytime I try and end early, thinking that price action is just going to be bad, we'll get a setup in that last 30 minutes of the day or whatever. But we've already gotten a setup today. It was just a break-even trade. For those of you that joined late, you asked what was our trade that we took, or what was the setup. This was our long, I think. It was this 30-second year. We were coming off the 5 minute, I think. Yeah, so this 5 minute gap got tapped into. Good bullish V shape here. It just got break even once we hit this high. So that was the only play so far, just a break even trade. So that's what we're saying. You haven't really missed anything. If we V shape up now, that could make sense too, because like I said, protected low. By the way, can we talk about how there's 13, 15, whatever it was that we peaked at, so odd people in PM now? On like a pretty semi-regular basis, we've been hitting 100 people like every single day. That's pretty crazy. When I first started PM stream, I think I had about 35, 40 people in here. So to see a tripling of the amount of people we got in stream is pretty crazy in the first year, I'm not going to lie. Nah, I'm not stealing nobody. My cat just walked in. Hi, buddy. I've been here since day one, and I've learned so much. Thanks, Wesley. Cool, Marwin. I'm glad. Oh, not in there. All right, so we're coming back up here. We'll keep an eye on this 5 minute. Obviously, it doesn't help that we inverse that other 5 minute to the downside. Just kind of confuses the delivery, especially since we didn't get that liquidity sweep that we were looking for. But yeah, I mean, this would flip the delivery bullish again, so hopefully that happens so that we can be bullish again. I'd low-key take the trade on ES. Okay, okay. Yeah, they're trying to catch me paper trading OEV. Okay. Do you trade ES or just NQ? I just trade NQ. Sometimes I'll trade QQQ on options, but that's the same thing. There's 30-second long, but only internal FEG, but it's already like 2R. Yeah, I would have never taken this 30-second here because I just don't know if the delivery is going to be bullish. And I'm not going to base my delivery off of a single, like, non-obvious. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but not really. 30-second gap. And then technically this 30-second failed. Right? Because we came down, closed below that. I mean, unless there was like a 15-second inception, which there isn't. Yeah, that would have been a fail. So, I'm not really. I mean, that is what it is. Did you take that long even though we did not take the low? Was doubting because of that. I think because we did not take the low and because we're outside of the macro time and because it's not really the model, I don't think I would take it, but I don't see why it wouldn't work to at least this internal high for the break even. So I'm kind of conflicted. It also kind of goes along with this idea that, like, you know, that low is a protected low, and so it makes sense why we're reversing here and not sweeping out the low. So in this scenario, you know, we might not even need a liquidity sweep, and so if I guess price were to inverse this 5 minute, I mean, it would make sense. Why is this a protected low? Yeah, sure, because it's a 1 hour low that swept out another 1 hour low inside of a bullish gap, or you can use the 4 hour here and it's the same thing. So it's a low that took out another low that didn't close below, and then we haven't swept buy side yet, so it's technically still protected. Right? It's just a bad draw on liquidity, right? You never want to target sell side without first hitting buy side, right? Or vice versa. Would you still wait for the 1 minute or take the 5 minute or none of them? 5 minute here is fine, I guess. Like I said, I don't see how this wouldn't work, right? Like it's an obvious V-shape inverse. You know, anytime we get those V shapes, Dodgy always says, you know, don't fade them. But it's just we didn't get the model, so it's probably not something I can alert because it's not that. We got another 4 minutes till the close here anyway. I think I would 100% take the 5 minute here because the 3 minute isn't singular, 2 minutes not singular, 1 minute obviously isn't singular. You know, obviously we could run into an issue here where like the 5 minute closes above, but the 2 and 1 don't. So we got to be careful with that too, because technically here, because we didn't get that sweep of liquidity, we kind of have to wait for all time frames to inverse. So maybe we do take the 2 minute here over the 5, and we just wait for the other time frame closes as well. Because these aren't like the greatest price conditions, and we don't have the liquidity sweep. So yeah, I think you could take this with like the 2 minute and the 5 minute inversing, which that'll happen in about 3 minutes here. Obviously, then a next 2 minute inverse happens in a minute, but I don't know. I guess we might get the inverse in the next minute, but I don't think so based on the momentum we have right now. I think we'll probably fall short of it. And then on that next 2-minute candle, we'll probably inverse it. And then at that time, we'll also inverse the 5. So that would be like ideal scenario if we got both of those time frame closures at the same time. And then obviously just this high here would be the break even, because this is a high inside that 1 minute fair value gap that we've just been struggling to break this whole time, right? If this 1 minute gap holds again and we don't see the high get hit, that would really suck too, because that would probably lead to the play failing. And this 1 minute gap would be our like significant gap that we would need to see break in order to confirm bullish delivery. But I think this 5 minute, based on how obvious it is a good enough gap to use. Along here would be A minus. I think subjectively it's probably an A setup. Mechanically it's probably B plus. So take that with what you will. I mean, it's just not an A plus setup because it isn't everything. It's not all the everything aligning, right? We don't have time. We don't have the model. We just have momentum and bias. So that's why I'm kind of giving it like an A setup here. Low key, don't like how we left the loan tag. I think it's fine, Dapper, just because it's protected. Wow, 117. Okay, I think that's the new peak. I mean, obviously, I know we have some mentorship people in here, so that'll account for, some artificial numbers. But when has stat padding ever been a thing? Or ever not been a thing, I mean. It's funny because, like, I'm freaking out about 118 members or whatever. But, we just had, like, what, 750 the other morning in AM? Most times people won't tune into my streams during AM. But they have been recently, so I think they're learning. I think they're figuring it out. What would you mark as your buy side? I get confused on how to identify buy side and sell side. Yeah, so buy side for me right now, or I should say the draw on liquidity I'm looking for, is this 4-hour unfilled bearish for value gap. If we hit that, that would be good. That's kind of where I'm looking for right now. So this would kind of be the idea for the trade. And the reason why is because if you go down that hierarchy of draws list, that's the third best draw on liquidity in the market as a whole, and that's the best draw for buy side right now. And then obviously by the time we run into that 4-hour SIBI, we won't know if that's going to break, and so that's when we kind of have to reevaluate and see if bias and delivery are still bullish. And we'll be able to figure that out based on that reaction we get to the 4-hour. So obviously no close above there for the 2-minute. Did we get the close on the 5-minute? Okay, so we got the 5-minute close. So this would be like the earliest entry. Obviously the momentum on the close was very, very bad, so I'd probably give that an A minus. And then obviously the close above isn't even that convincing. So I'm not in there, but we can continue to watch. Maybe we'll see the 2-minute get inversed here. Yeah, Brandon, for sure. 119. Wow, 119. Why are you excluding Africa and freeloaders? Maybe it's another 500 plus. Oh yeah, for sure, Murmar. Yeah. So 5-minute here so far working out. I would just want to see multiple time frame closures, given that momentum kind of started to stall here. It's not quite the model, and obviously we're outside of the macro time. So it looks like we might get it. Stop on this is quite a bit. It's 40 points, so definitely got a size down for this play. Honestly, I don't even know if it makes sense for me to take it, because a 40-point stop is like my max risk with two micros, and that will prevent me from even scaling. So I feel like here maybe I just wait for like a confirmation setup or something. Like I said, reason why we're waiting for both time frames to close above here is because we haven't confirmed bullish delivery until that's happened. And sometimes I'll not wait for all time frames to close above. If we get like a liquidity sweep or we're reversing during a macro, but here we're not really doing either. We didn't get that liquidity sweep. We're not reversing in a macro. So that's why I gotta wait for all those time frames. And you know, obviously we're stalling now, so really gotta wait for that extra confirmation. Why it's not the model? Because we're missing liquidity sweep. We have singular gap, decent momentum, good break even, but we're missing liquidity sweep, so it's not the model. $124. Wait, how are there 124 people in here? Is the channel open? No, it's not. What the hell? Thoughts on 1 minute long above the one we were holding? I would probably get in on the 2 if I wanted to long. I feel like getting in on the 1 is a little too late. Because ideally, if we inverse this 2 minute, that should be enough. You know, for value gaps being inverse there in order to confirm that. You don't consider taking out the 2 p.m. lows a liquidity sweep? Nah. You mean these lows? No. Nah, I mean, you need to see external liquidity swept there. I mean, this is just taking out internal. Is anybody already in off the 5? I mean, you could still literally jump in and it would be from like the exact same entry point. ES already took that ITH? Okay, good to know. 1. Yeah, someone in starter position? Okay, for sure. What would the stop there be? 35. I mean, I guess I could take a starter position. Why not? We're about to get that 2 minute here. We just got a minute and a half longer. I mean, there's no point in me entering the starter position when we're this close to the 2 minute, but maybe if I was still at like the 5 minute. I mean, it's not really that much of a difference, to be honest. What is it like? It's 7 points. I guess that makes the average a little better, but it's not really significant. So, are you taking it? This momentum really sucks. I mean, I'm guessing by the time this triggers, it'll be during the macro, so that will definitely help. So we'll have time. We don't have the model. We don't really have momentum. We have bias. If we get that 2 minutes, so once again, I'm still stuck on like an A setup here, A minus A. I feel like I would have 100% alerted if I wasn't so green on the day. Like I would want to take this if I wasn't like, if AM had been like horrible, I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's do it. But I don't know. It's kind of going to depend on this close too. If it's like a really bad close, like it's bad momentum on the close and we're not like pushing up through this high and closing above it, like I probably won't take it. If it's a good close, then sure. I don't know. I'll let you guys know. Stop here is like horrible though. So yeah, like that's just not a good close. It's okay, but it's fine. I think this is a fine trade to take if you want to take it, honestly. It's fine. I don't know. The stop loss just doesn't work for me in the accounts I'm trading. Like that's the biggest problem. It just doesn't make sense because like a 40-point stop, it only allows me to trade 2 micros, and then that doesn't allow me to scale at all. So I pretty much either have to A, scale all at 1R, or I have to hold for the final TP, which like I don't know, I guess. But yeah, this other like if you're somebody that like can take this with like multiple micros because it doesn't like, let's say you have like a 50K account that you're trading, like yeah, this is fine. Like you could take this. I just hate the momentum. I think it's an A setup. If you're somebody that can take A setups, go for it. Like, but if you're somebody that only likes to take A plus setups, then don't take this. That's where I'm going to leave it at. So not technically an alert, but maybe we say it's like an alert for people that take A setups and not an alert for people to take A plus or something. I don't know. I feel like we could get a better setup here if we like retrace to the unfilled 5 minute down here, and then we get like a confirmation setup. Like that could be good because then the risk to reward's better. But like, I just don't love risking 40 points on a 25K. What time does the macro start? 2:50. So in about 2.5 minutes here. What looks good, but momentum isn't there. Yeah, exactly. Every time you cover for dodgy, you get a solid 10 plus people in here. It's all organic, bro. Just rolled it. Yeah, exactly, Meek. Nah, like honestly, like I'm not too concerned about the numbers. It's just cool, you know, to see. I don't know, just like the continued growth, right? I mean, I like having more and more people in the community, so I can continue to spread kind of the knowledge that I've been so lucky to receive. So in general, is it higher probability if it takes out external as opposed to internal? Yeah, exactly. The problem is, though, I wouldn't expect this low to be swept, right? So that's the issue. It's like it's higher probability if this low is swept, but it also makes no sense for this low to be swept. So that last 5 minute right after 12, let's see. Like this one? Kinda. Yeah, I don't know. For me it's easy. Like I'm just not in this because my stop and the accounts I'm trading on, but like I don't know, it's definitely a subjective thing for sure. Like I don't really often see V-shaped setups like this fail, but when we start to chop like that, that concerns me. Right? You want to see good momentum through the close, not not before the close. What if you haven't taken a trade today? I mean, I think I've outlined pretty clearly. Well, I think I'm going to keep my profits, to be honest. I don't really like this PA. See you tomorrow. Sounds good, Seb. Stop loss way too big. Did we hit 50? 50 back up? Yeah. Like of this dealing range? Yeah, obviously. If you mean the whole thing, probably not. Yeah, no. But like I don't know if I would expect price to come back there because usually I like to align 50% with some PD array or some liquidity point, and there's just nothing there for us. So I wouldn't really expect price to come there. I mean, I guess like you could say like the 50% kind of lines up with the break even here, but not really. And all these gaps are balanced, right? The best 50% retraces are usually the ones where we have inefficiencies, not liquidity. So you think the SMT with ES would send us down a bit? Maybe, right? That could be the explanation for this reaction here, right? Like I'm not sweating if I'm in this trade personally quite yet. I'll be sweating if like price starts to violate this 5 minute with speed. Top step 50k evo. Would you risk 750 first trade going for a 2-to-1? I don't know. We have this 1 minute. We didn't tap into a 5 minute here or 3 minute, but yeah, this is good. This is good momentum. It's right at the macro too. Obviously not a singular. Actually, wait, no, this is a singular FEG. So we have singular FEG, no sweep, decent momentum, good break even. Aligns with time, aligns with bias. No close over there. In a way, this is technically better than the 5 minute because this close is actually good. Do you guys see the difference in the momentum here versus the momentum here? Right, this 1 minute reconfirmation. It's still like an A setup, but subjectively it's better because we are now inside the macro and the momentum is actually decent. But yeah, we're still dealing with obviously the no sweep, and we have unfilled inefficiencies below. So it's kind of our issue. But doesn't look like we're going to get the 1 minute here. I mean, maybe we respect this 30-second and come back up. Not inversing this 1 minute would concern me if I was in this 5 minute. That would for sure concern me. Keeping an eye on ES here. What do you think about Alex? Crazy how much he make. Which I have no idea who Alex is, to be honest. Who's Alex? But we also have higher time frame. Yeah, so draw and liquidity is good. So bias is good. Momentum was decent, and then it's still okay, I guess. And then time is there, and model just isn't. And then obviously the gap just isn't that obvious itself. I guess it's 6 points, so it's okay. But you know, I want a more obvious for value gap, right? We want something like this, not something like this. So maybe we won't even have to worry about it because it's going to be invalid. Yeah, so invalid 1 minute there. Good sign for the 5 minute longers. Anyone who's already in long, we want to see price, close above these previous down close candles with some good speed here, so we can confirm those order blocks, and then obviously break even target's still the same. So he makes about 5. That's crazy. I don't know. Cool, I guess. Good for him. I could never stomach a quarter mil loss. Even if I was worth like millions and millions of dollars, like the idea of losing a $250,000 in a single trade is just crazy. And I'm guessing he doesn't like risk like 5K and then go for like 500K. Nair, I didn't, but I have seen emails like that in the past. In the past, it was a video you had to send in. Nah, Fahrenheit, I only spent 3K on it. I only spent 3K on it. It wasn't too bad. I guess 3K is kind of relative, but I don't know. I feel like you want to spend money on things that separate you from the ground. So that's tires, shoes, couches, beds, anything like that, right? And so I'm willing to put that investment into, the couch, because that's something that I feel like you should be spending your money on, right? Somebody might disagree. Somebody else might think a better use of their money would be on, like, I don't know, anime body pillows or something like that. And that's great for them. But for me, I'm going to prioritize the things that make me more comfortable and, I don't know, are going to help me with my, I guess, health in the long term. Yeah, Fahrenheit, that's my next purchase that I'm going to get. I've been rocking the same gaming chair since probably 2016. So I probably should swap that out at some point. I've just been looking on Marketplace for one because I hate the idea of spending $1,600 on a chair that I can just like wipe off and it's basically brand new. So, would you get out of the 5 minute? The 1 minute gets stopped? Probably not. Because like, I don't know. I mean, we could always come down here, balance the 5 minute, and then come up. Still the same value, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, those things hold their value once they're secondhand. Secret Lab has Secret Lab chair is amazing. I've sat in one. I thought it was just okay. For sure, yeah. Dude, I'm not buying that. That's like a 10K chair, isn't it? What I'd rather do actually is I'd rather get a racing sim. That is something I would buy. Like if I ever get to the point where like, I have a cool enough car that I can take to the track or whatever, and if I wanted to practice, that's what I would do. I'd get a racing sim before going to the track. Final TP for this 5 minute. The unfilled 4 hour. Mentioned it a few times this stream, but 5:33, I guess. Hopefully, power hour just starts accelerating us. It'd be like 150 point trade, I guess. What car you got currently? A Camry. I was actually looking at cars though all last night, and I've kind of narrowed it down to one of two options. I'm thinking either an IS 350 F Sport, or that would be used. That would be secondhand. I don't think I would try and spend more than around 30 on it. And then the other option would be a Hyundai Elantra N. And the reason why is because I want to get a manual. But obviously the IS350 F Sport isn't a manual. So that would just be kind of to replace the Camry, because I was trying to figure out how much my Camry was still worth right now. And when I bought it in 2022, it was like 24,300. And I was looking at comps on like Auto Trader and whatever, and my car is still selling for $22,000. So 2 years later, it's only depreciated 2K, which just, that's pretty cool. I feel like, I could get the value out of it now, and then, I could upgrade to the IS350 for only a few grand more. And, it's a great car. It's all-wheel drive. It's basically just the Camry, just better in every way. So the one I was looking at specifically was this one that they were selling in Maryland. It was like for $25K. It had a rebuilt title on it, but the rebuilt title was for like vandalism/theft. And it looks like all that happened is some dude stole the car. He might have like scuffed up the oh wow, that's a bad candle. He might have like scuffed up the front fender and like the rear quarter panel, and that was it. So like they already fixed all the damage, and it looked perfect in the impound lot. So like I thought that was a pretty good deal. It was 46,000 miles, $25K. So I don't know. Does anybody here have like experience like buying rebuilt titles? You bought 3? Okay. And how did it go? What was your success rate with the rebuilds? Yeah, it's past everything. I don't know, Sniper. There wasn't any news. It was just, I think, the 3 o'clock or the macro here finally accelerating price. I think that was the right call not getting in this play, obviously, just because stop is kind of egregious here. Now at least we get an opportunity for maybe a re-entry here. I mean, obviously the 5 minutes technically still valid, right? Because we haven't closed below that inception gap below. But yeah, obviously if I was in this 5-minute trade, this was the exact condition I said I would start to become concerned. If I was in the trade, if we start accelerating through this gap, right? And we're kind of doing that, This candle was helpful, but I'm guessing, this next candle here, if we start pushing down, that might be bad. So, yes, don't do it. The resale of it isn't great. It will always deter people from buying it. Yeah, for sure, Batman. But honestly, if I was to get an IS350 F Sport, I'd probably keep it for a good minute. And at $25K, like that's insane value. Yeah, I would never buy a flooded car. I mean, it's just rebuilt. I mean, it's just like it was just theft. Like, but yeah, the Elantra N, obviously, that would be cool. So we got this 1 minute inverse back up here. Obviously, it's not a singular gap. We got 2 here. So we'll want to see both of those get inversed in order to confirm, buy side here. For sure, Batman. I mean, I wouldn't buy a car as an investment ever, right? Like, I'm not buying this IS350 anticipating to make money on it, right? Just, it's a tool. So, if I can get a better deal on it, why not? For sure, Wesley. Okay. Do I have the listing? Yeah, I have it somewhere. I'll send you a DM, I guess, Wesley. 5 minute short with S&T would be decent, except I don't think it makes sense for us to target this low. If I was going to short here, I would just target this low. I wouldn't try and get low a day here. So it will take out the 1 hour low, 2 o'clock candle. Yeah, we could see previous hourly low to previous hourly high here if we got the 5 minute inverse, right? Or vice versa if we come up here and hit the high. That would be our break-even point. That would be the previous hourly high, and then maybe we see the low. But I don't know if today it makes sense to see previous hourly low hit. I guess we'll just gauge the reaction to previous hourly high hit, and same I guess goes for previous hourly low. SMT with the break-even highs. Yep, yeah, that was mentioned a couple different ways. Technically, like if you follow the model like to a T, this 5 minute was a break-even trade because we put in a new internal high here and swept it on this 1 minute. But we didn't really do that on the 5 minute, so that's why I wasn't calling for it to be a break-even. But yeah, like I think Dodgy would probably just justify this as a break-even. But obviously, you know, I'm a little riskier, I guess. If I was in this, I'd probably still be trying to hold. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, I'm not in this, so everything I say is kind of, you know, probably not realistic because I don't know how I would be feeling about the trade while I'm in it, you know. But based on, you know, these candles, this was a good reaction to the 5 minute being tapped into. So hopefully we can just see price respect this 30-second gap here, and then continue to head higher. I think if this 30-second here were to be violated, that would be probably bad, and you might want to get out at that point. But, you know, sometimes the hardest part in trading is just cavemanning it out. So even if this 30-second were to be inversed, you know, Dodger would probably say, like, you know, you've set your conditions, you've set your stop, you've set your TPs, and just let the trade do its thing. So gotta go run some errands. Green on the day. Thanks for another awesome stream. All right, Yuki, peace out. Exit a break even on the 5 minute. Okay, fair enough. I do not see a setup happening today. Yeah, for sure. You know, we don't get one every day, right? We expect 2 to 4 a week. We're kind of already at that threshold, so we'll see. Good candle there. We want to see continuous momentum. Good candle closes over previous highs. All right, TB, peace out. Fahrenheit, I hear you on the Tesla, but until a Tesla comes in manual, I probably wouldn't buy it because the whole point of me buying this car would be for that. Also, I don't want to have to replace a battery after 100K miles, and so with an IS350, you know, the most I'll have to do is, you know, drain the transmission fluid, do my regular oil changes. Maybe I have to replace a belt or, you know, whatever, every 60,000 miles or whatever, and that car will run forever. For Tesla, you know, I have no idea. Batteries, do the batteries last forever, or do they last forever and keep the same health and like the same what's it called, range? Or does the range continue to decrease over time as you use it more and more and recharge it more and more? Really? Okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe that'll be my next daily is a EV or something like that. I don't know. For me, I won't be taking along with that low left behind and too low for a short. Looks to be a no trade day for me. Okay, EJ. Equalize at 435 look nice. Yeah, maybe. Honestly, these equal highs aren't that good of a draw on liquidity. They're side by side, so I wouldn't really weight them too highly. I don't think they're that good, right? But these are better because they're not side by side. But even then, like what I want to look for when I see equal highs is obvious swing points that form the equal highs. This is an obvious swing point. So even this is a step above side by side, but this is still not great. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Uh-oh. What are we doing? SMT at the low here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That death candle cost you 5K? No. Do you trade fundeds or lives? I do both. I trade options accounts which are live, and then I trade fundeds on prop firms. I trade on Apex and my funded futures. For sure. Okay, Fahrenheit. Can you explain the draw on liquidity? Sorry, I don't understand it. Yeah, so if you look at that hierarchy of draws chart that I have posted, that is going to outline all of like the different types of draw and liquidity and the order in which they're most important. And so if we look on the chart right now and we go from the highest time frame that we usually trade on for intraday trading down, so the daily down, you can see that we have this 4-hour unfilled fair value gap here, and that's the third best draw on liquidity behind data highs and equal highs and lows and that kind of thing. And so because there's not really any good equal lows or equal highs on the chart and there's no data wicks, this is the best draw on liquidity. And so we want to pair that draw on liquidity with delivery. And so as long as we're continuing to deliver bullish here, which just means respecting bullish PDRAs and disrespecting bearish ones, that is the draw on liquidity, and that's why our bias is bullish. What's an LV battery replacement at 40k miles? Low voltage? LMAO. Damn, that was close, Wesley. That was really close. You brought bad luck. Every time I enter a trade, it completely goes sideways. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't failed yet, right? We're still respecting that 5-minute, but yeah, it doesn't look good, right? I thought about the WRX STI, but I think I'd still go with the Elantra N over it. It just fits my needs better. It's cheaper too. Is this new 1-minute better? Yes. Yes, this 1 minute's good. Because we got the liquidity sweep now. We have that. Oh, actually, we don't have a bullish SMT, but... Appeals Court temporarily halts ruling against Trump tariffs. U.S. Appeals Court reinstates Trump tariffs during appeal. Okay, so Trump appealed, obviously, the ruling. And so they're still in effect, those tariffs. So that was what that dump was. Are you combining the two gaps on the 4-hour? I thought it was just the one. But yeah, the draw on liquidity would just be to the start of the gap. There's not a second gap yet because this candle hasn't closed. So, does that make sense? A fair value gap only forms when the third candle that forms the fair value gap closes. Could you just please explain how to tell if an SMT is bullish/bearish and why or why not you would take a trade because of it? Yeah, so an SMT is just a confluence, right? It's just something to add to your conviction whenever you're thinking about entering a trade, right? So like it's kind of like how we sometimes like an IFEG that occurs that forms an OB with it as well is like higher probability or makes you more convinced that the trade's going to work, right? Because the more bullish PD arrays that we see forming around a setup, the higher probability that setup becomes, right? And so SMTs are important because they're usually the first sign of that, like, I guess, smart money reversal, where we see like price complete the market maker model and then we get like a soup. So that SMT just is like almost like a better soup, right? It's just an improved soup because what that SMT tells you is one indice is weaker than the other or one indice is stronger than the other or whatever. And the weaker indice is going to get dragged up by the stronger indice on a bullish SMT, and the stronger indice is going to get pulled down by the weaker indice on a bearish SMT, right? And so when we use a bullish SMT is to pair it with that IFEG, basically saying like, okay, not only is this a bullish IFEG setup, but we also have the fact that there's an SMT here, meaning that ES is going to help pull price up, or maybe we'll be able to help, I guess, if NQ is the one that is higher up, that tells us that NQ is very bullish. And so because we're inversing the gap on NQ, we're going to see those targets, play out, and we're going to get good momentum, right? Because once we sweep liquidity on ES, there shouldn't be any like, I guess like weight dragging us down anymore, right? It's like we cut that weight loose, and now we can just fly. Does that kind of make sense as far as SMT goes? That was kind of a ramble, but seems like we're not going to get a setup. GG. Hey, we still got 45 minutes. We'll see. Can Trump F off already with this tariff stuff? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be like this for the next 4 years, so buckle up. Imagine being a business owner trying to figure out if you can keep production in China or moving it to the U.S. in that case. Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't. I do not envy business owners right now. I was actually, I was thinking about raising PM prices, guys, to account for the tariffs. You know, we got a lot of extra costs that are coming about due to them. So, you know, I'll let you guys know about when that's planning on happening. But, how the ever you supposed to plan ahead with all of this BS? Okay, okay, okay. The ORR all the way up to the 4 hours looking good for sure. A friend of mine wants to start with dropshipping. I just told him he should learn trading for sure. Am I doing PM stream tomorrow? Probably not. 5 minute short due to news, maybe. I'm never gonna short based off news. If you guys have been trading for a while, you probably already know this, but just because we have bearish sentiment in the news or bullish sentiment in the news doesn't mean that's where the market's gonna go. And you see that happen a lot with earnings calls too. The only thing the market really ever cares about is draw and liquidity and bias and delivery, and it couldn't care less about what the external factors are saying. I will say earnings is a little bit different because like earnings is really just based off of future cash flows. So that's when you see, stocks pump or dump or whatever is typically we get like news in the earnings release that indicates either stronger or weaker future cash flows for that specific stock, and then that's what causes the share price to pump or dump. I'm guessing Nvidia probably released bullish future cash flows, right? So they're anticipating more money to come in next quarter, and that's why we saw the stock pump. I don't know if my couch is from China. I think it might have already been here before the tariffs came into effect, and then they just shipped it. But are your streams produced in China? Yeah. So if there's a bullish SMT and NQ closes higher to drag up ES, would you then take the trade on NQ? Is it's likely to hit target sooner? Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to take the trade on NQ regardless of if, we're higher up on ES or whatnot. Just because I like trading NQ but better. I think the moves are cleaner. But yeah. Which time frame looks the best in your opinion? For this long, probably the 2. But yeah, I don't know. Looks like we're gonna inverse this 5 minute to the downside in about 8 seconds. So that would be like the official stop out of the trade. So I'm glad I missed that loss, but I know a couple of you guys took it, so sorry to see that happen. But yeah, there would be like the official loss for the 5 minute there. Obviously, we have this 2 minute that's still holding, but with all this tariff news that's coming out right now, I think it's best to just probably call it quits. Nvidia still only up 3% of the day. Yeah, I think this tariff news is really what's pulling the whole market down. I mean, the rest of tech is really red, but Nvidia, is obviously still a little green from their earnings. What was the reason for not taking the 30-second long entry at 230, SMT at the bottom, and liquidity sweep? We did, I think. Yeah, we took this. Oh, no, we took this one. Wait, which one did we take? No, we took this one. Oh, wait, this is 130. 230. My bad. Oh! Honestly, I don't think I saw it in time. And then, obviously, it failed. So. I think the reason why I wouldn't have taken it is just because we were currently delivering bearish. And so we had this 5 minute above that if we closed above that would confirm bullish delivery. But because we hadn't gotten that, I'm not going to base delivery off of a single 30-second gap when we've been, essentially bearish this whole afternoon. So that was the reason. But yeah. No, you're right. We didn't have an S&T there at that low. I didn't think the bias was bullish there, so that's kind of why I didn't long, because I'm not going to long against the bias. You're not trading today with this news? That's probably smart. 15-second worked great there. Yeah, the 15-second long. Yeah, it did. That was all right. Maybe that's why that 30-second failed, is because that 15-second hadn't closed above, and so we were reacting to that initially. Then that caused the 30-second to fail. And then when the 15-second closed above there, it worked. And then obviously was a break even. Or maybe you hold to this high here and it's not a break even trade. Yeah, maybe you do that actually. You hold to that high because realistically there's no reason for price to stop before that high. And I think that high is a high instead of a 2 minute. So yeah, probably wouldn't go break even to that high on that 15-second. So we've had two 15-second trades today actually work out, but I don't think this one is as good as the other one. This one's just okay. Obviously, you're just kind of fading the bias. I don't know, Meek. We'll see. I'm probably. I mean, if this is going to continue to be the trend, I'm probably not going to take anything. Okay, it is cold. Main reason why it failed are just odds. For this 5 minute long, momentum, and then obviously the news. Delivering from this 2 minute gap still here. I mean, if you want to like really cope and if you're still in this long, even though the 5 minute failed, um, the 2 minute here being respected is technically allowing the setup to be valid, but I probably would have still stopped out on it because like at that point you're like in what? Almost 50 points of drawdown, so it's kind of up to you, but this 2 minute here looks really interesting. Wow, really, really good. Okay, so yeah, this might be our play. This 2 minute long. We got the 1 minute there. Obviously, want to see the 2 minute close above since the 5 minute just closed below, and we're kind of all over the place as far as delivery goes. Let's see here, about 15 points stop, so good risk. Maybe even less than that, depending on the close here. Hopefully, we get a good one. But yeah, we'll see. Would you take that 3 minute? I think the 2 minutes probably better, right? A little bit better, a little bit bigger of a gap, a little bit more obvious. But yeah, 3 minute doesn't close for another minute here, so we'll see. There's the 2 minute close. I'm jumping in there. And then yeah, we'll just see if we can hit this high. Hopefully we do. I'm watching ES here too for the potential SMT at the high here. But yeah, break even should be this high, I think. Like I said, keeping an eye on that SMT. I think I would go to break even if we got an SMT there. We hit the high, so I'm going to break even there. And then I'm gonna probably... I mean, you can technically take partials there, right? I mean, that's 1-to-1. Yeah, so you can take a partial there if you want. Kind of up to you. I'm going to end up selling here early, I think, because I'm going to hit the payout threshold for these accounts. So I just want to cover that and be good. But we got to get there first. About 5 points away. I missed the exit on it because I was trying to show you guys where everything was. So hopefully this doesn't come back to the break even before hitting that high. That'd be great. All right, boom. So, I mean, I scaled there, but obviously, that was just for my unique scenario. If I was you guys, I would keep holding here. I would be out maybe like 40%. So if you took this with like 5 micros for $150 risk or 6 or 7 or whatever, maybe you take 2 off there and then you try and hold for that next target above. But there we go, 1 for 1. You guys all heard me say I was getting in there, right? So we got our trade. Just needed good momentum. We got time there. Respected that 2 minute good sweep. So, I mean, if you took this first loss, I mean, that was a 1 hour loss there. And then if you took this second there, I mean, it's a 1 hour win. So break even, I guess. Time, yeah, 3:15 to 3:45 is a macro. I swear I hopped off for 5 minutes. I'm sorry, Zebby. In the green after that 5 minute trade. Awesome, awesome. Just like with Dodgy, we heard your reaction. Yeah, I mean, it looked good. It looked exciting. All right, so need to continue to see price violently close above these previous highs here. So hopefully we can get it pushing. But what is that? 4 days in a row of callouts? It's pretty uncommon. Normally we end up with a break-even day or something in between there. All right. So there's no roadblocks in the way here. We just created an equal high. I don't think we should stop here. We should probably go to at least 405. And then obviously, maybe you leave 20% left of your position after that, and then you try and hold. I mean, this would be a crazy target if it hits. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we still have 37 minutes left, so anything's possible here, right? We got a lot of liquidity built up to the left here. I would definitely, if you're down to like 2 micros after this high hits, because this is like 30 something points, 2R, I would scale 1 micro at this high, because this is a nice obvious high inside of a fair value gap, and then I would scale that last runner at the 4 hour. So just missed that next TP by about a tick there. If you're like me and you like to scale a point earlier, whatever, to the high there, you probably got filled. If not, there's a learning opportunity for you. I mean, I think it still hits, but I always like to scale, a couple ticks or about a point before that high, just in case, we get a reaction like this where we just barely miss the high and then we come back down, especially since we've been getting SMTs all afternoon with the S, and you never know when we're going to reject there. So you still take a close from the 3 minute? Probably not. Would have just been in and off the 2 there. Reason why was because momentum. And like I said, I think the 2 minutes a better gap to take there overall. Yeah, for sure. How can I take partials out in Top Step? I don't know. It should just be the same as every other brokerage, right? LRLR doesn't have too many roadblocks. Yeah, I mean, the only one I can see right now is this 1 minute gap that's been holding us down all afternoon. So once we close above that, we should be good to go, right? That's why I said you should partial here too, because this is a high inside that gap, and we don't know if this gap's going to break. So obviously a good candle close here above these bodies was awesome, but we want to see price, accelerate over this high. By the way, another reason why this is a good partial is because this is previous hourly high here. So if we reverse from here to go target previous hourly low, and we don't inverse this 1 minute or whatever, then obviously, you should just be down to runners at this point. But I'd say if you took this trade with like 5 or 6 cons, you can have 2. Actually, if you took this trade with 5 or less cons, like be down to a runner at this point. If you're at 6 or more, you can have like two runners here if you want, but I would just be down to a runner. I have no idea if we're going to break over this. This has been a pretty big roadblock all session, and this is previous hourly high. So price has a tendency to go from previous hourly high to previous hourly low. So now that that's swept out, if we get a bearish reaction here, the rest of our contracts will probably just get stop break even. But yeah, accounting for that runner, this was a 2.5 hour trade. Maybe, with the partials there, it's overall 2. Because that first scale was like at, 1.5 R-ish. And then that second scale was probably at 2.5. So we'll say 2 R trade there. So yeah, we want to see this 30-second gap here hold. If this breaks, I'm guessing we'll just go back for the break even here. I mean, maybe there's a chance we come back and tap this like 3-minute gap here and go up. So I wouldn't stop out of the trade if the 30-second inversed, but it would be better to see, you know, bullish gaps continue to be respected here. So it's kind of the idea behind wanting to see that 30-second respected here, but obviously not. So close through that. Now we're tapping into this 3-minute. Want to see a really bullish IO Fed reaction from this, and then just see price continue to go higher here. If not, which doesn't look like we're going to get, this 3-minute short would probably work to previous hourly low here. So keep an eye on things, but yeah, it looks like the rest of these are probably going to be a break even. So yep, looks like break even on rest. I think that was a pretty good call there to leave just a runner there. You know, previous hourly highs, usually a good draw, and once that gets swept out with that kind of a reaction, you know, where we soup it, it makes sense for price to come back. So awesome. All right, how many of you took that? Type 1. How many of you scaled everything at the previous hourly high there? Or not everything, but everything but a runner. I guess type 1. Okay, cool. So you guys kind of get the reasoning now behind all that, why we do the things we do. Does it ever like freak you guys out when I just like call price like as accurately as this? Like, this is crazy, right? It kind of freaks me out a little bit, I can't lie. I'm going to title this stream recap like freaky callouts or freaky trades. I don't know. Not in like the Diddy, but like in like the Halloween context, you know? Rate the 3-minute down. Soup reaction to previous hourly high. Still respecting this like 1-minute gap here. I mean, yeah, we didn't close above it. So, I mean, I think delivery's still bearish. If we get the 3-minute inverse, this would technically, I think, be A+. I probably wouldn't hold for low a day. I'd just hold for that previous hourly low. But yeah, if we got this, I mean, I'm not going to take it. I'm done for the day. This is not an alert, me saying that it's A+. But I think mechanically this would be considered A+. If we got it, singular gap, good momentum, took the high. I don't know. I mean, subjectively, we've moved so much today. I just don't know when we're going to start accumulating again. You know, it makes sense to see previous hourly low get hit, but I don't know. I just don't want to chance it again. You know, I feel like this is that scenario once again where Dodgy would say, like, if you lose on this trade, it's on you because you should have been in from the first trade or whatever it was. 1 minute long. Yeah, we have a 1 and a 2 minute long here, so this would be like a confirmation setup. Honestly, I kind of hate it because of that reaction we got to previous hourly high. And because we failed to close above that 1 minute. That just tells me that, like, you know, if price came back here and this was a retrace to fill in the 3 minute and you know, come back up, this is going to be hard to target, and it's going to be difficult to break this 1 minute to the left here. And so this is that type of scenario I talk about all the time when it comes to psychology, where like you guys will enter a trade like this where it looks V-shaped, it looks really good, but this might be a trade where like this takes you through a construction zone or traffic, right? Where like we have this roadblock to the left here that's going to cause problems, and so you enter this trade anticipating price to just run up, and then we end up stalling for a long time in it, and it, you know, it chops sideways and you're wasting all this mental capital, and then eventually, you know, the trade either ends up, you know, being a win, or maybe, you know, we shoot up a little bit and it ends up being a break even or whatever, right? So I feel like this trade, because there wasn't really any roadblock to the left here, is that, you know, just get on the highway, straight to the target, and, you know, that's it. Appreciate it, Sheets. All right, sounds good. So we got this 30-second down here. We'd be rejecting out of that 2-minute. I'll keep an eye on this 3-minute. Obviously, that's the gap that's currently holding up price. So this is an internal versus external situation with this 30-second. So obviously not an entry, but if we want to continue to see bearish delivery here, we want to see this bullish gap get inversed. Still holding the 5-minute trade. Okay. Hell yeah, dude. For sure. All right. Why not, man? Hell yeah. Goddamn, Sammy. Yeah, for sure, Ken. So macro is not just the first and last 10 minutes. Yeah, for PM, I found it's 3:15 to 3:45. Actually the whole last hour is really good. But we start to get like manipulation on that 3 o'clock candle open, and then it proceeds to clean up at 3:15. So a little bit unique scenario there for PM. But yeah. Yep. I'm having trouble keeping track of all the time frames. Any advice? Should I keep them all open on different screens? I can't seem to flip back and forth. Yeah, I mean, if you have multiple monitors, you can have up to 4 charts per monitor, I think, and still kind of get a good idea of what's going on. There's also indicators that allow you to see different time frames on the same chart. So like this one's obviously a little bit messy because I haven't really messed with the settings at all, but here's the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the daily, and the weekly all in context on my chart at the same time as the lower time frame here, so I can kind of see what's going on in the higher time frame while also still staying on this chart. So if you want, I can send over that indicator. I think there's 2, so kind of depends on which one you want. There's the V1 and the V2. Okay, let me see what I can do. So is it, no, it's not that one. So let me, I guess I'll update. And then, how do I favorite this? Add this indicator to favorites. And then this one. Okay, so I think that's it. Maybe Dodgy's IFG will have this feature. I don't think so, but you can always just use multiple indicators, right? So you could use the IFG bot or the IFG indicator and that together. Yep, for sure. Do you ever trade with the Power 3? Not really, because I'm kind of keeping track of Power 3 all in my head. A lot of these indicators are just there to like automate things for you if like you're not able to keep track of them in your head. But like I'm pretty good at keeping track of things at this point. I mean, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and between having to trade and keep track of stream, it's kind of become second nature to just track everything on the charts. Every once in a while I'll slip up and I'll miss something like a soup of London lows or whatever, but 99% of the time I'm catching these things before they even happen. So I don't really need it personally, and I think it kind of clogs up the chart a bit. So it makes teaching a little bit more difficult. But I think if you're somebody that's newer, or maybe you have a little bit you struggle a little bit with keeping track of things, I think that Power 3 indicator is pretty helpful for sure. So we're inversing this 30-second down here. Maybe not. I lied. Wow, what a banger. All right, let me post that 2-minute, by the way. I never got around to doing that. So, 2-minute. Previous hourly high. Grammarly. All right. And then let me get those executions. I wasn't aware 2:15 was macro. Yeah, 3:15 to 3:45. Honestly, it's just like the time that I did know. But overall, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock is a macro. But I found that through like my own personal back testing and obviously forward testing on PM here, that 3 o'clock to 3:15 manipulates, and I think it's because of this tendency for price to run both sides of the hour. And so, while we're between both sides of the hour, price doesn't really have like a good draw on liquidity. It's like we're between two draws, right? So there's that those conflicting draws, and so once one of them gets swept, the other one becomes a little bit more clear. And then that's when 3:15, usually around 3:15 is when we start to see that acceleration towards the other draw. On days where that's not the case, then obviously 3:15 isn't as significant, and we just see power hour become its own thing, and really that starts at like 250, right, where we see the 250 macro play out, and then that just continues into 3, where we just trend up or trend down during 3 o'clock. So I think that's about it. How long have I been trading for? I've been trading, like, investing and stuff for 5 years. I used to trade options, and then 2.5 years ago, or just under 2.5 years ago, I switched to futures trading. Do you decide if you're streaming tomorrow, mate? Well, considering we just got another win, and we're up like, what is it, 4R on the week? How much are we up on the week? We got 1R yesterday, 2R today. And then, what are we saying on Tuesday? 1.5? So we're up 4.5R this week. I mean, that's probably good, right? All right, we got a long here. Confirmation setup coming off the 3-minute here. I kind of given my thoughts on this already. We've already swept out previous hourly high. I really like this momentum. But we just don't know if this 1 minute's going to break here. So you're just taking a trade that has that roadblock to the left. It might break, it might not. I don't think it's a bad trade though. I really like this momentum. I'd probably give it like an A- setup, subjectively. So, I mean, if you journal this, I would just say like, yeah, there was that 1 minute to the left there. You didn't know if that was going to break, so you're assuming it's going to, but we could reject this 9 more times until it finally breaks. So it's kind of like taking a trade trying to break LRLR. You just don't know when it's going to break. So kind of the idea. It's also a 3-minute gap. Oh, the inverse here. Oh, the 2-minute. Right. Yeah. So actually, technically, the entry wasn't there. We wanted to wait for this 2-minute. I forgot about that. So yeah, once this 2-minute breaks, that will actually be the official entry. So hopefully that happens in 6 seconds here. All right, so there's like the actual entry. So thank goodness didn't accidentally say something that was wrong, but yeah, 3-minute got closed over there with that VI. Like I said, like I wouldn't hate it if I looked at it. I would just say like, okay, you're just assuming that 1 minute to the left's gonna break. So hopefully for those of you that are trying this because you missed that initial long and you're FOMOing in right now, we are able to break that and continue to go up here. But I'm very happy with 2R today, especially with how difficult today was to try and manage, considering things like that 5-minute long that we got, and, the amount of expansion we got today, it was pretty surprising we got a setup today. So 2-minute confirmation. Dodgy would have called us donuts. Yeah, probably for taking this trade, Probably just because this is a more difficult setup, right? You're taking like a back road here versus the highway. So hopefully your car doesn't break down. But when did I become profitable? I became profitable trading options in I guess it was my 3rd year. And it was all because of one trade. And then I became profitable trading futures 5 months after I started learning with Dodgy. But I really, becoming profitable is definitely a more subjective thing. I'm saying I turned a profit after 5 months of being with Dodgy, but I wouldn't say you're profitable until you have 6 months of consistency, right? So that didn't really happen until 6 months after that first time that I turned a profit trading futures. Does that kind of make sense, Will? So no stream tomorrow? Yeah, no stream tomorrow. We take every other Friday off, so next Friday we'll be on. But yeah, overall, I think that Fridays are the worst day for PM. Kind of like how No News Mondays are the worst day for AM. Fridays are the worst day for PM, so that's why we take every other Friday off, just so that we can improve our win rate a little bit. You know, it gives you guys some time back for the weekend, so you're not sitting on here until, you know, whenever. And then obviously, you know, it benefits me, but I think overall it's more of a mutual benefit than just, you know, obviously me being selfish or whatever. So plus, no point in really streaming tomorrow if we're up 4.5 RR and PM alone this week. I mean, might as well take your money and run, right? Come into next week, you know, refreshed, and you know, you got that extra time at the end of the week now to do whatever you want and reset and refuel that that gas tank, that mental capital. So, you know, is there a channel to access the mentorship? Or do you just have to submit a ticket? For sure. I mean, well, I mean, it definitely could work, right? It's definitely a good sign that we're seeing this 1 minute be respected here. But I think it's best to just, you know, wait and take a trade again on a different day. How can a 1 minute hold price so much? I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's crazy algorithmic. Maybe 350 is what'll finally break it, right? We could also see 350 just shoot us back down to previous hourly low, and that's that. But yeah, I mean, looks like it's going to break here. Just got to continue this momentum. Close over that high, and we're good to go. So we hit the high there on ES, so we have an SMT. So if you want to go break even, it's up 12 points. I feel like, you know, you don't have to wait for that high to get hit, but got hit anyway, so there's that high. Definitely want to go break even there if you're in this 2 minute. And then hopefully we close above the 1 minute here. So there's that 1 minute close, so you should be good to go now. Hopefully it doesn't come back for a break even and we just start to really accelerate up here. I would scale half probably at this high because I'm guessing that's 1-to-1. And then I would try and hold runners to that first TP that I had from that original trade. And then obviously second TP at the unfilled 4 hour. If you didn't take this trade, that's totally fine. This one was better because we hadn't hit those highs yet. And we had this high here to have as a break even, right? This is a good break even, so. But yeah, first scale obviously there, I think, because that's 1-to-1, right? So first scale there, and then maybe you scale another here, because that's 3R, so that brings your average up to, what is that, like 2R overall, and then you leave a runner to this high, or maybe even the 4 hour. Wow, I think 350 is really going to accelerate us to the 4 hour unfilled gap. You think Dodgy, when set a rejection block breaks, it'll shoot up? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, you never know. I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? Did the Dodgy indicator catch this? Let's see. It's on the 2 minute. No, because I don't think this counted as a liquidity sweep. It didn't even catch this one either, but this one it should have caught. So maybe it's still loading or something, but yeah. Didn't catch that. Damn, it really didn't catch that long at all. Interesting. Alrighty. Well, it looks like the rest is going to be a break even, maybe. Got it. Nice, Tamby. Nice, nice. We going to break even here or what? Almost got break even. I mean, that's the official entry. Missed it by 3 ticks. 30 seconds till the 350 macro here. Wow, 15 second here was kind of interesting, but not really the inverse that I'll take on the 15 second. No, the only time I'll take a 15 second inverse really is at that extremity of the range. It's more in the middle, so. Long now, we're not. Yeah, well, I would just probably be done. It kind of sounds like you're trying to like signal bot, and I mean that's fine, but I feel like you got to learn your model and figure out what's best for you. So you don't have to like depend on me for like trying to tell you like what's good and what's not. So I'm telling you where I think the market's going, and so if you find an acceptable trade that meets your criteria through backtesting and learning and education, then take that. But if you're like basically just asking me for like what to do and press the button for you, like that's not going to help you, right? That's just me giving you fish. I want to make you a fisherman. But yeah, if we form a gap at 350 here, that would be really good. We'll probably see that gap work and run these highs. So hopefully we get that. You'd like a free fish? You got one, Trade Boy. I thought you got the 2 minute, right? I keep the village fed. A lot of volume comes in Marwin at 350. All right, so let's keep an eye on this 30 second here. We tapped into that. Ideally, we should just spring right out of it and hit this high. If we inverse it, probably a bad sign for longs. Hopefully, if you were in this trade, you took profit where I said, because that was, I think, 3R there to that high. And so overall, now you're up like 2R on this trade. Maybe you got like a runner left or two or whatever. But yeah. So inverse that 30 second down there. We still have this 15 second BPR that's holding, so shouldn't be the biggest deal, but ideally here this 15 second gap should be inversed, or this 30 second, whatever, to the upside. Bear says some T delivery from the, oh, we hit that high on ES. All right, so that's probably the reason for the bearish reaction, is because of that SMT. If we inverse this 30 second to the upside, that would be very good. We'd want to see that. There's a lot of volume coming to the market during this macro. Yes. Yeah. As JM Hawk just said, all orders must be received at 350. So, or before then. So you got everyone that's trying to close out positions or whatever. Towards the end of the day, all spamming orders. Right before 350. What a reaction for the. I think it more has to do with the SMT trade, boy, because I think we actually ended up taking out that high there. Yeah, so this high we ended up taking out an ES. So that's the reason why we're kind of rejecting now. So if we saw price dump here, which we definitely could, I don't think this is protected anymore because we took out buy side. So maybe we end up seeing a low a day here if, you know, we really start to speed up. So break even on the rest there. So if you took that, it was like a 2 scale trade and then break even. Obviously I was done. I think a lot of us were already done. So just a tape read for me. But yeah, that was a fine trade. Oh yeah, Fahrenheit. Yeah. I mean, it's the institutions with their trading bots probably all just like trying to manufacture some sort of move, you know, prior to 350. You know, they're trading on way different time frames than we are, so I don't know. Yeah, for sure, Marwin. You have to close all positions in 18 minutes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You're out for the day? Alrighty, man. See you on Monday. So yeah, pretty choppy 350 macro here. Right? Took out that liquidity, so kind of makes sense. Should we wrap up here, guys? I mean, we're pretty close to 4. We got our trade in for the day. I don't think we're going to see much else today. Awesome, awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, I will catch all of you on Monday for PM. If you're the person I'm doing a one-on-one with tomorrow, I'll see you, I guess, at 8:50. But for the rest of you, yeah, have a good weekend. And yeah, trade safe tomorrow. Peace out, everyone.